And welcome to another episode of the Market Value Chart Show, right here at 6 Scale Cantina. So this is part 2 in a series of the Hot Toys Talk edition of the Market Value Chart Show, where we're going to be looking at what next announcements could be forthcoming for Star Wars from Hot Toys, and what figures that are high priced within the secondary market could be reissued. Let's just dive into it right now. Alright, and welcome everyone to another episode of the Market Value Chart Show right here at 6 Scale Cantina. So this coming Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern on April 10th, the Market Value Chart Show will be live once again. We will have Mike from the Action Figure Cave back in the Cantina. We will have Nate from Geekin' Out back in the house. But this time around, we have an extra special guest. Man of Hot Collectibles will be joining us, and the four of us will be serving up all the Star Wars Hot Toys talk again this Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, April 10th. Please go ahead and book that on your calendars. I'm looking so forward to hanging with you all on that episode for sure. So let's get into part 2 of this series within Hot Toys Talk for potential reissues of Star Wars Hot Toys figures that are fetching really high prices within the secondary market. Now, I discussed a handful of them in part 1. We're going to discuss some others in part 2 here. We're also going to take a look at what potential next announcements could be coming out from Hot Toys for Star Wars. We discussed a bunch of them in part 1, and I have a new batch here in part 2. So let's go ahead and get into it and go to 6scalecantina.com and first go to the biggest movers section. So let's go ahead and go to the first figure I want to speak to on this episode of Hot Toys Talk. And you could see in the middle of your screen the OG Mando. What is the potential for Hot Toys to do a straight reissue of this OG Mandalorian figure, whether in the short term or the long term? Right now, this figure is starting to trend up high again within the secondary market. I spoke about it in the last couple of episodes, but this figure is getting very, very close to breaking into the $400 tier range once again. And I believe, when it's all said and done, that this figure will absolutely be a $500 tier range figure for sure. This look for Din Djarin is absolutely iconic, for sure. And I think that some collectors slept on this version because of that awesome looking Beskar version that's still up for pre-order right now, whether it's the deluxe or non-deluxe version. And I don't think that Hot Toys made anywhere near as many of these as they are with those Beskar versions. So I think that this is going to be very, very highly sought after. But again, what about a reissue opportunity here? And I don't think in the short term that there is a potential for that. Hot Toys has to not only concentrate on the Season 2 version of Din Djarin, but also the forthcoming Season 3 version, Season 4, so on and so forth. And who knows if Mando is going to show up in other series or other content as well. And I think that is a very strong possibility. So I don't think that reissuing this is going to be a priority in the short term. However, will it be in the long term? And I say yes. However, I would venture to bet that it would not be a straight reissue of exactly what you're seeing on the screen. And I believe Hot Toys would be very savvy in this regard and actually give us a different type of rendition, perhaps even this figure again with some different accessories. Because not only then would they attract collectors and new collectors at that point who are going to be seeking out this version of the Mando, but you could get collectors that already have this version to want to pick up another variant version of this. So I think that that is a strong possibility, but in the long term, somewhere like 5 years from now or after, with this particular figure, again, I really think that with this figure here, that it was, with some collectors, slept on. The Beskar version looks incredible. And this is very, that whole Western gunslinger, more so of a look with this. And I think it will be very, very, very highly sought after, this figure. But I don't think it would be in the short term where they would go ahead and reissue this. I think in the future, 5 years or after, and I also think it wouldn't be a straight redo of this. There might be some differences to attract even some of the collectors that already have it. So let's go to the next figure I want to speak to. And in the line under Jin, you could see on the bottom left of your screen, Leia Hoth. So this figure right now did not only break into the $400 tier range, it is now trending up into the mid to high $400 tier range. And I do believe that this could hit the $500 tier range with the way this is looking right now within the secondary market. So would Hot Toys do a straight reissue of this figure? And I say no. I don't see any possibility where they go ahead and just reissue this figure in the short term, unless they surprise us and they gave us a Hoth Luke or a Hoth Han, which would be awesome. I could see this. Absolutely. But this right here, just her by herself, and then to do a reissue of this in the short term, I don't see it. I don't see it. But man, it would be great if we can get a Hoth Luke or a Hoth Han, and then I can see it. Absolutely. I think the best bet with this Leia, and also the A New Hope Leia, is for some collectors that are really looking, because both of those figures are so high within the $400 tier range, and they're getting close to the $500 tier range. You've got figures that are also trending up right now. Like you see, this Leia Bespin is trending up, and you could still sometimes get this figure at a reasonable secondary market price, along with the Endor Leia by herself as well. But the signs continue to point, the data continues to point and show that this Bespin Leia and Endor Leia are continuing to rise. And you can look, these figures look absolutely fantastic. Hot Toys has done a great job with Leia, capturing Carrie Fisher, in these portrayals of this character, a great job. And so I think that eventually this one and the Endor Leia are going to creep up to where you're seeing the A New Hope Leia and this Bespin Leia. So I've said it before in prior episodes. If you know you want a Leia and you're thinking of getting one, right now, both the Endor Leia and this Bespin Leia are available in the high $200 tier range right now in the secondary market. And right now, currently, you could still get them in the mid $200 tier range. It's hard because they really are just going up and up right now. But that would be my advice if you're looking for a Leia, because this one right here in the A New Hope one is insane. And I think that there is a much more of a potential for us to get a reissue of A New Hope Leia, because you do have the 50th anniversary of Star Wars looming, and I think that we can get that figure, especially in, also with the fact that, that A New Hope look for Leia was a look that was showed, albeit briefly, in Rogue One. So I think that there is a far more of a probability for the A New Hope Leia reissue than this Bespin Leia, for sure. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next figure I want to go ahead and speak to. And also, within the biggest movers section at 6 scale Cantina. And now you could see at the bottom of your screen, Chirrut Imwe. So what is the potential for Hot Toys to go ahead and give us a reissue of this deluxe version or non-deluxe version of Chirrut? And I think that there is some potential here. Now, again, because of the aforementioned that they've come out with a couple of figures again recently, Hot Toys from Rogue One, and also calculating in that they didn't make very many of these figures to begin with. And then also putting into account that this is a very, very popular character from that movie, I think that there is some potential for this to have a reissue or a different version of this figure. And I think a different version of this figure would be something apropos, because I do think that there could be potential for this character to return on Disney Plus. I can absolutely see Disney and Lucasfilm working something out with Donnie Yen to do a backstory on his whole story, or and have him come back to Star Wars. Absolutely, I can see it. And if he does, not only will this figure go more insane, but I think that they can go ahead and reissue this figure or give us a different version of Chirrut pertaining to whatever series or show or film that he winds up coming into. And I think then at that point, if they go ahead and do that, then I think there is a very high probability that we'll go ahead and get this figure. And I think that is going to go ahead and bring us to figures that I think Hot Toys could surprise us with. And this is a figure right here that they already teased some time ago. And this seems like it's, out of sight, out of mind, no way. But you have to wonder, is it possible that Hot Toys would surprise us with an announcement of a Baze Malbus? Because they have already surprised us in a way with a couple of Rogue One figures recently? And I think that the answer is maybe. Maybe with this figure. Because they're coming out with a couple of Rogue One figures. And I think that there are so many possibilities with this. Look at what they did with the Nightmare Batman and Dark Suit Superman. I can certainly see them coming out with a 2-pack of Chirrut and Baze, where they go ahead and give us just a straight reissue of the Chirrut figure, like they did with the Nightmare Batman. But within that 2-pack, you get Baze. And I think that it would be a very well-received 2-pack if Hot Toys were to surprise us and say, here you go, Star Wars collecting community. Here is Baze, and here's Chirrut. So I can absolutely see them doing that, especially with the trends of Hot Toys recently with 2-packs. To me, this would make sense in a way. Now, I think it would be more probable that if these characters come back in Disney Plus, and I absolutely believe that they will, that we would get a Baze at that point, or we would get Chirrut, and they can do so many things with this. And who even knows if they'll wind up, showing up or having a concurrent storyline in the Andor series, perhaps, in a different, place, or and then to do a spin-off from there, from that series. So who knows? But again, I do think that this would be an absolute surprise announcement. But I don't think a whole lot of us would be complaining if they went ahead and did this. I'd love to get a Chirrut figure. It is so high within the secondary market right now. And I really would want one if they had a Baze. And if they at Hot Toys surprised us with a 2-pack, especially since they've been coming out with a couple of Rogue One figures, I think some collectors would absolutely jump all over this. For sure. Let's go ahead and go to the next figure that I think is possible that could be announced by Hot Toys. Now we're getting into, though, what I think in the short term. Very, very short term. And that would be... This seems kind of obvious, because they already teased Season 2 Mando already. However, they teased it with the speeder bike, and the speeder bike has mysteriously disappeared at Secret Base. And with the head sculpts that they have been coming out with for the characters within Season 2 of The Mandalorian, particularly Tamora Morrison, with the Boba Fett Deluxe package that's on pre-order right now, and also the Bo-Katan figure with Katie Sackhoff, I think that there is potential that when that Season 2 figure of Din Djarin gets released, that what's going to distinguish it from the OG Mando that we spoke about earlier and the Beskar version of Mando is going to be a Pedro Pascal head sculpt. It would certainly be very fitting because of the way that the season finale went, when he basically took off his helmet because Grogu wanted him to. And then that scene evolved to where Grogu goes with Luke, and you have that great scene in the elevator with him and R2 and Din Djarin looking at them and them looking back. And you know that they're going to be coming out, and we spoke about it in part 1 of this Hot Toys Talk episode, Luke Skywalker from Mando. So I think it would be fitting to have the Pedro Pascal head sculpt to go with that Luke figure. So I believe that this is forthcoming in the short term, and short term meaning this year. For sure. So, let me know what you think. let's go ahead and go from here now to the next figure that I think is a possibility that could be announced by Hot Toys. And that is, you got it, the Armor. So, this character here, look at that. I mean, that armor, and let me see if I could even blow it up a little more and move it. So, wow. I mean, this would be a tremendous, tremendous announcement and release by Hot Toys for Star Wars. This character was so instrumental in helping Din Djarin find his way within Season 1 of The Mandalorian. And I do believe that this character is coming back in Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Just as we spoke about in some episodes about the heavy infantry Mandalorian, I really feel that he is coming back in Season 3. And I actually believe that this character is as well. But I don't think that we need to wait. That we need to wait at all for this character to show up in Season 3 for Hot Toys to announce this. I can absolutely see Hot Toys at any time coming up with an announcement or teasing this and then or just surprising us with this announcement. And how would this do? Best selling wise? Well, you can go ahead right now to Sideshow Collectibles and sort out Star Wars Hot Toys best selling wise. And wherever you see the Death Watch Mandalorian, which has been recently in a very good place, you can bet your bottom dollar that this armor will be above it. And I think that Hot Toys knows that. And I think that this would be an absolute no-brainer move for Hot Toys to officially announce this figure. And you don't even have to worry about a license or any type of approvals for a head sculpt with this. You're just dealing with Disney with this. So, do I think that this is coming in the short term? Absolutely. Let's go ahead and go to the next figure that I think is possible. And this figure, while not as probable as the figure you're seeing on the screen or with the Din Djarin head sculpt for the Mando one before, I think that there is some potential. And the reason that I believe that Greef Karga has some potential is because this character was in Season 1 and this character was in Season 2. And really, I believe that Carl Weathers is going to be used even more so with the upcoming content on Disney Plus with the way things have shaped up over the last few months with The Mandalorian and all the spin-offs from that. And I believe that, Carl Weathers is a very well-known actor, especially with his, portrayal as Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies. And absolutely, if Hot Toys would drop this Greef figure, I would absolutely pick this up in a heartbeat. I love this character in Season 1. I love the arcs up and down with this character. First a friend, now an enemy of Mando, back a friend again. So intertwined, back, in Season 2. And I can absolutely see this. And here's the thing that you have to consider when thinking about potential surprise announcements. Oh, it's such a low-tier character. There's no way they're going to come out with this. Folks, Mandalorian is hot right now. And I think Hot Toys knows that if they come out with any cool character from Mando right now, it may even do better than some other characters from some other movies at this point because of how hot The Mandalorian is. I think they can almost come out with just about anything Mandalorian right now. and people would scoop this up. And certainly I believe that, this character and Carl Weathers' portrayal of this character, I think that they're going to use him more. Now, do I think that this would be this year? I I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think it's this year. But can I see this sometime in 2022? Them dropping this on us, depending also on how they use him in some of the other content. I do. Let me know what you think. So let's go ahead and go to the next figure. So we're going to move out now of the Mandalorian. Those three are the three Mandalorian figures for this episode, and anyway, that I think have potential. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the next figure. And this figure is, let's go to the Clone Wars now. Hot Toys is coming out with a ton of Clone Wars figures that are up on pre-order. And we're anxiously awaiting, when are the next Clone Wars figures? When are the next prequel figures? When are the next Clone Wars figures, Hot Toys? When are we going to get? And I'm telling you, with some other toy lines and companies that are coming out with Ventress, I am telling you that Hot Toys would knock this right out of the park. And whether you have this Battlefront edition of her, or Clone Wars look of her, any look of Ventress, this would be an absolute phenomenal release from Hot Toys. And with all the Mandalorian stuff going on right now, wouldn't it be interesting if they went ahead and gave us an Asajj that goes with kind of the bounty hunter look, like this helmet? She does have some history with Boba Fett. And forget about the history she has, obviously, with Dooku, and that figure's already out there, and Ashoka, the one that they're coming out there, and so many from the Clone Wars. But man, if you give us a Ventress with the helmet, I mean, there's a couple of different ways that Hot Toys could approach this. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up the best sellers again on a sideshow, Star Wars wise. And, if you're wondering, well, I don't know how good Ventress would really do. Well, wherever you see right now the Tusken Raider, or the Coruscant Guard, or the Death Watch Mandalorian, or any of those really cool figures, this would absolutely be higher. And again, I think that Hot Toys knows that. And if they're committed to the Clone Wars line, this absolutely fits in. And who knows, with Dave Filoni, I'm sure that there's going to be something with Ventress. I'd love to see some type of, miniseries or something, with her. And it's going to be forthcoming. But do we have to wait for some content to come up on Disney Plus for that? Because that's when it's relevant. I'm telling you right now, if they're committed to the Clone Wars line, Ventress is relevant right now. So, okay, let's go ahead and go to another potential figure that is relevant for the Clone Wars, that is relevant for the Prequels era, that is relevant for the Bad Batch era, that is relevant really for this timeline. And I believe that there is large potential for Palps from the Revenge of the Sith look. This figure would not only fill the gap for collectors that are trying to get their hands on this figure, which quite honestly has hit astronomical secondary market prices. You can't get this deluxe set for anything less than $600 currently, and it continues to trend up. And I do believe that this particular set is going to be a $700 tier range figure. But this figure right here would fill the gap for a lot of collectors that are looking for an Emperor Palpatine within their collection. It also would go really good with that Attack of the Clones Yoda and both of the Anakins that were released by Hot Toys. And it certainly is apropos for figures that are coming out in this time era, whether it's Bad Batch or Clone Wars. And I think, honestly, this would sell even better for Hot Toys than reissuing this figure, because this figure was in stock for a long time, and then once it got out of stock, it was available at a very reasonable secondary market price for a long, long time. So even though Star Wars is hot, I don't think that Hot Toys would be, that this would be a priority. But this right here, where you'll get collectors that already have this Return of the Jedi version of Palpatine. Some of them will jump on also getting another version like this. And all those collectors that are looking to get a Palpatine within their collection. And also this character, as aforementioned, is relevant within some other shows and series and content. So I do think that there is, that this could be a potential release announcement from Hot Toys. Now, would it be this year? I don't know. Could I see it before the end of next year, before the end of 2022 or in 2023? I can. Let me know what you think. So we are going to go to the final figure I am going to speak on for this episode. And I think that there is a strong probability that this figure could be officially announced by or before the end of 2022. And yes, I have already talked about this figure, and I actually talked about it in part 1 as part of a 2-pack. But come on already. We are going to be getting very soon our third R2-D2. Many collectors need a C3PO from Hot Toys. I actually do believe that this is a priority for Hot Toys for sure. I don't necessarily know if it's the short-term priority, but certainly within the next couple of years. And rest assured, you are going to be seeing Disney Plus use Anthony Daniels in forthcoming content for Star Wars on miniseries and new shows and so on and so forth. So absolutely, if there's not an opportunity now, there will certainly be an opportunity over the next couple of years to get an official announcement for this figure. And as I mentioned in part 1, there are so many ways that Hot Toys can come out with a C3PO. And I really do believe at this point, with all of the Star Wars Hot Toys that have been coming out and that are up on pre-order and that have been released, that C3PO would do very, very well best-selling wise for Hot Toys. So I do think that this is coming. And don't forget, this is a very beloved character in Star Wars and basically almost in everything. So I do think that this is coming, and we'll have to see. And that, my friends, will bring to a conclusion this episode of the Market Value Chart Show. Please go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoyed the content, and please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I so very much appreciate your support. Remember, the next live episode of the Market Value Chart Show will be this Saturday, April 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern. We will have Mike from the Action Figure Cave back in the Cantina. We'll have Nate from Geekin' Out back in the house. And as I mentioned at the onset of this program, we will have an extra special guest this time around, Man of Hot Collectibles. I have the links to all 3 of those guys' channels within the video description below. Please also go ahead and remember we have a brand new Facebook group. It's different than our Facebook follow page. I have the link to that group within the video description below as well, along with our Instagram. Remember, many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view. See you next time.